All right, it looks like they have started the game 5 minutes early. So what do we have here? We got CT versus the Andorran player whose name I'm guessing is Alex. It's listed as Axlan on the spreadsheet. And so this will be kind of Lanni Kingdom of the Shadows versus Stark Fealty. Uh, Setup for CT looks pretty good. We put 4 cards in Shadows plus a Rose Road. That's pretty ideal for him, isn't it?
It's fine. We would rather see more money, but that's okay too. It's a pretty awkward start since Alex has a Rickon on setup, so maybe he was always going to open for snow, but it makes it so that we can't open at the gates.
Hmm. So were you? It seemed like you were running some testing of this yesterday without CT, just running the matchup.
Mm-hmm.
Which and it did not look especially good for Lannister. Either that, or CT knows this deck a lot better than you do. Is that right?
Yeah, I think both of those are probably accurate.
Yeah.
CT's testing went better than mine did, but I still think that we have to have a few things go really right for us to pull it off.
So bad
Like we need
matchup.
to, yeah, we need to hit the one of the two barring the gates with the forgotten plans. I think. Otherwise, taking 2 turns off is a long time.
It's just gonna be too much.
Some of the keys were Bolton flayers. If we saw Bolton flayers early, it would really help keep the resets in play. Which, as we see, we're not doing that currently since we had to open with the reset. Um,
Hmm.
Jason Mallister is not something we want to see. Um, he's kind of annoying. Interesting to see a Bear Island scout here
Yeah.
when first nose in play, but we'll see.
Is there any way that they're tutoring for a specific House Mormont card?
Yeah, they could be.
Okay, pulls Alisane, but that's not gonna get past first snow either.
Mm-mm. He doesn't have money to pay for it, so it's just going to be in the hand. Maybe he's got a dupe, which I think they've got access to. So he wants to play Alisane with the dupe next turn, maybe.
Okay, so only 2 cards are gonna go to the challenge phase here on the Stark side. All right.
Yep.
So CT's thinking.
Yeah, I'm sure he's got a lot of options if he's got access to Robert Strong and Shadows. He might not want to do anything. Um, Robert Strong would clear the board this turn.
Mm-hmm.
If he doesn't, this is much tougher.
Is the trick that he does he have to kind of I mean, Caitlyn just means you can't kill Caitlyn during her challenge. You have to wait till
That's
after the
right.
challenge, right?
Yeah. And you probably want to wait for the Mouser to get knelt anyways, because you don't want to have to defend the military challenge with Robert Strong. You want to make the military with Robert Strong.
Mm-hmm.
So um, could be an awkward situation where he does a power with both, and there's no Robert Strong possible until post Malister trigger. We'll see. In the tank here, trying to figure out what combination of cards are going to be best for the situation. It's not an easy decision. He's got access to 1 gold, so if he's got a no surprises, that's really awkward for CT.
Let's check out.
There's 2 no surprises in the list.
Yep. while we're waiting here. Let's take a look at CT's list. So does run Valor Morgulis, double trade routes. Um, we're not seeing him play out a bunch of locations here. Okay, puts one more card into shadows. Does that mean he does not have enough money to Robert Strong it?
Yeah, that's what it seems like. He currently does not have any way to get access to Robert Strong. Shadow Priestess comes down and kneels Malister. Interesting that it was done in that situation in that way because, of course, Alex had first action, so if he had no surprises, he could trigger it and and not allow access. Oh, actually,
All right, I gotta
first no
disappear for a
winners.
phone call here real quick, so just
Yeah,
take over for a minute.
sounds good. Um, yeah, I'm incorrect about that being interesting because first no of winter, of course, is revealed. So Shadow Priestess return to hand. Entry challenge from Cat. Makes sense. Hired Assassin is a very low um, priority card for CT, so that's a good pool if you're rooting for USA, which of course we are. There are 4 cards too many in hand for Alex, so going for an injury claim doesn't really make sense. Um, Taking the power back. Unopposed. Let's see if he has a trick here, maybe a Ryan Jones event that would allow him to play something and get a military off. No such thing. Okay. Moving on. Um, as Stark, we want to see a slow. As Lannister, we want to see Stark having a slow start. So this is good. Nightmares, Winterfell Steward, Rickon, Bear Island Scout, discarded for reserve.
All right, I'm back.
Not too eventful. Turn 1 there. We do see Alex discard 3/1 costed cards, which means that he maybe wanted to get rid of one and figured he might as well get rid of the other ones because they're most likely to get hit by 9/10 Marauders if CT has access to them next turn.
Mm-hmm. Right, kind of suggests he's really studied this matchup, or
It's just a good thing to do against shadows. It's if you discard a card that you have lots of similar costed cards in your hand,
yeah.
um, we've seen it happen on the stream a few times. So barring the gates into this at the gates. It could also be that he just has an additional Rickon Stark. Oftentimes when you have an important card and you get rid of one, you have another one in hand. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe CT was just trying to get the at the gates out of the way here while Rickon isn't in play.
Mm-hmm.
Now he's going to have 7 gold, and he can't bring anything out of shadow.
So this is just to kind of limit the damage turn, right?
For Stark, yeah. I mean,
I mean, for Lanni, isn't it? I mean,
I don't think there's not much limiting that you can do. There's not really anything you can do. He doesn't have a big money plot reveal, so he can't marshal stuff to oppose with. Um, he's going to get hit with a Malister at least once, maybe twice, depending on what uh, cards Alex has access to, which it's going to be painful. Um, you can't do any tricks, so
hmm none of the deck is come into play effects that can be triggered by marshaling.
no, not really. All the shadow stuff needs to come out of shadows mostly.
Let's see. And he's got to go first too, so he can't exactly like throw a flare out there without that possibly backfiring.
Well, I mean, if you throw a flare out there and Alex doesn't marshal any cheap guys so that he
Yeah.
plays around it, that's a win for us.
Uh huh.
Like, so
Or you just put 3 more cards into shadows.
it makes sense.
I still don't think it's looking good for this Shadow Priestess.
No, she's not high value enough to spend an event to take her out of harm's way. So I agree. She's probably biting the dust here.
I guess the issue is the board that Stark's gonna put out here gonna be big enough to warrant a Valor next turn, and there's a dupe. So, because what if you're Lanni here, what you have to kind of keep like a big wide Stark board's just bad news, right? Because it limits what you can do, isn't it? Or
Yeah, yeah, no access to VD, so that could be a problem.
how does that actually work, Alejandro? If when Malister triggers his, choose a card in shadows. If you're on Iron Throne, are you actually picking like 1 through 7 as a number, or how do you actually pick from a opponent's shadows deck?
Yeah, yeah. On Iron Throne, you'll pick the card in Shadows, and it's just laid out like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when like anytime you bring something out of Shadows, it'll tell you which numbered Shadows card it was. So you can kind of keep track of when things went into Shadows.
When you're playing a game like this, how much do you consider? Like I'm looking at that. If I'm weighing playing Valor next turn, and I'm seeing I can kill 4 unique characters. No, is the problem he does play Return to the Fields, right?
It plays both Return of the Fields and Heir of the Iron Throne, and one of those is very likely to be played next turn,
Gotcha.
which diminishes the value of the Morghulis.
So there'll definitely be a little bit of a guessing game going into next plots. There's nothing automatic here.
Yeah, I think that for CT, it doesn't make a lot of sense to do anything outside of like a trade routes.
Yeah, none of this looks like there are obvious decisions. These all seem like hard decisions, and playing Lanny Kingdom is, a high skill deck to have to play.
It is, yeah.
All
Power
right.
challenge initiated, and the methods came out of Shadows to slow them down a little bit by taking a power, which makes sense. Um, Alex was smart to play around a pinch of powder because Barring the Gates would not have stopped that.
You say play it around just because he did bother to oppose it, or
Yeah, but both opposes so that what's the main name of the event? Poison coin can't come down, um, and neither can a pinch of powder come down. Um, and Catlin, even though he did win by 5, Catlin would stop a pinch of powder trigger.
all right. So we saw CT attempt to clever feint back into shadows, and we saw Bran cancel. Which again, if you're fearing the reset, it's not the worst thing in the world to get Bran off the board through a valuable cancel like that. But
Yeah, clever feint is super high value, but I think this early it's actually
that's not.
not
Yeah.
not actually that important. So, and the other thing that it does here is that it kind of like pigeonholes him into returning to the fields because Bran is like the obvious sack target if you play air.
Yeah. Yeah.
All these guys are more valuable. You know, they're not so valuable that you can't sacrifice them. But if I was going to play air, I would kind of want this Bran to stick around.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Jason Malister hit another Shadow Priestess, which is actually big. Um, it actually makes the Bran play even better because now he doesn't have access to 2 out of his 3 Shadow Priestesses.
All right. 5-2.
This is such an important plot phase. I could see Alex playing any of Barring the Gates, Heir to the Iron Throne, and Return to the Fields. And of course, CT is going to be thinking hard about whether he wants to play more Ghoulish or trade routes. March doesn't do anything. It could be Forgotten Plans if he really thinks that the second Barring the Gates is going to come out here. CT's picked a spot.
All right. What's your prediction? Oop.
Return to the Fields versus BM.
So that's bad news for Lanni, right? That's not.
Bad news for us. Although it still slims down the board, but 3 cards, 3 gold he's gonna rebuild it quick. That's pretty bad for for the good old USA here.
What was Lanni's record in testing on this? You guys, how many times did you run this matchup? Or do you not want to discuss that?
I think 5 times and Lanny won 3.
Oh, okay. So it was closer.
Uh, yeah. In the 2 that Lanny in the 3 that Lanny won though, we had both um, uh, shoot tunnels. No, not tunnels.
Bowels.
Bowels, and Red Keep. So
Bowels.
both of those are pretty important uh, to the matchup, and
And it
CT
hasn't
hasn't
happened.
seen either one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, essentially 10 gold available here for Alex, which
It's pretty good.
the board's going to get wide again, and both of our resets are gone.
Yeah, I was looking at things this morning, and I like again, I don't don't feel like I truly understand a lot of the matchups things, but despite being up 4-2, I think it's very possible this will go to the very last game. This matchup, it's
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Colts matchup is horrendous for us.
is that
He's
right?
playing a mill deck into a Lanni crossing deck that, has, of course, has access to 3x Cersei when he's going to discard on his turn. So, he's giving Lanni crossing 3 power pretty early. It's real bad for us. And so this one, I think, even though our testing went well, I think we were slightly behind here. We didn't have a favorable matchup here. That matchup that Colts got is very bad for us. And the third matchup is more even.
Hmm.
Um, and so I agree that I think these matchups were going to go.
Okay,
If we don't win this one, it's going to go long.
so Marauders
Uh,
comes out, chooses the 3 cost slot, and hits Septa, Mordain, and She-Bear there, but
Milk and Nightmares are up. Eddard, Daisy, Winterfell are also cards in hand.
and now it's just full speed ahead for Stark, right? I mean, not. Um,
Yep, they've got to try to close. They're just at 5 power though, so
hmm
this is not a fast start that they've had. Um, I anticipate them playing Heir to the Iron Throne to find a big to keep playing now that both of the resets are out. Um, and they've also got access to that Eddard in hand. So next turn, a lot of power grab could come down.
and they still have a second barring. Um,
Yeah, they've got a second barring, a VD, which they will not want to play,
hmm
and then you win or you die. And at the gates, if they haven't played it, no, they have. Okay, we have 4 plots. You win or you die.
Well, they win
Air,
before they have to play VD, don't they? I mean,
probably, yeah. I mean, Nightmares comes down and blinks spells, so he doesn't have access to 2 more gold. Seems like a good idea. Military's gonna stealth past the Marauders.
hmm do you think this is still like a Robert Strong situation?
There's not enough gold for Robert Strong.
Oh, did he already bring in? Oh, because he already used his 2 when he brought the Marauders in and marshaling. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so Alex made the challenge for 2 strength stealthing past the 1 Marauders in play. CT brought out another Marauders and can now defend the challenge, discarding Winterfell and Daisy, which is actually pretty big.
And will maintain some kind of board here.
Yeah, which is important. Um, Blanking the bows means that there's no possibility of 2 more gold and then another trick, right? Three gold is exactly where the Lanny deck wants to be.
So we know those 2 cards in hand for Starker, Eddard and Milk.
Yeah, the
right?
editors could be a problem because of the speed that it can generate, but
Hmm.
he's essentially ran out of cards here. Um,
Yeah, milk's not
which
really anything against shadows, right? I mean,
no, it's good against the Knight of Flowers for sure. Good against Cersei, but of course, Cersei's not going to come out in time to be milked.
hmm.
So it's at least 2 turns away from being relevant in a game where Stark really wants to be closing against a much more powerful top end deck in the Shadows deck.
Ouch.
Yeah, high value pool. Um, let's see. There's no the Iron Bank will have its due played yet. So if CT has access to Iron Bank and um, Sir Robert Strong, that would be big here. You could clear this Catelyn off the board,
Hmm.
make it so that if Heir to the Iron Throne is played next turn, Alysanne has to go to the discard pile.
There it is. I was about to say the pause to me indicated something was coming. You didn't see, just the little the oppose.
Yeah, that's pretty big. There was 4 cards in hand for CT, and so it was pretty risky to not do this pre-intrigue challenge. But of course, if he does do it pre-intrigue challenge, Catelyn probably doesn't get knocked,
Hmm.
and so you take a 25% chance. Maybe there's more than one in hand, but 25% chance that it's not going to get pulled, and you get a high value target kill from Robert Strong if that's indeed what comes out.
It's taken a while. It's not Robert Strong. Well, what do you think? Has CT's situation improved a little bit here, or
Yeah, it has. It has. We He doesn't get to make a challenge back. I'm sure he considered it, but if you trigger Tyrion on a Rose Road, you could oppose with Tyrion. You could make a challenge with the Marauders, and then in Dominance, you could bring the Rose Road out to draw a card with Battles, which um, it leaves the Marauders in play, but it lets you draw a card and it takes a power off of Alex's house card here. I think that's probably the way I would have gone, but CT might have a better reason for playing it the way he did.
so? What do we think Stark does here?
It's either air or barring. It might be air anticipating a Forgotten Plans from CT, and he kind of wants to hold that off until he sees the Forgotten Plans.
Hmm.
Um, of course, that might mean that CT can't play Forgotten Plans here. It's a pretty tough situation. He wants to trade routes. He's got 3 cards in shadows,
Hmm.
and he wants to be able to draw. Plot phase, bring a card out of shadows, gain 2 gold. Draw phase, bring a card out of shadows, gain 2 gold. Um, Alex isn't in danger of closing, and he's still got 2 trade routes available to him. So maybe you play trade routes here, anticipating air, and then leave yourself available. Oh,
Okay, interesting.
that is interesting.
So does this kind of indicate to you Alex thinks it was going to go to a seventh plot? And so you got to get it out of the way now, or it won't do much damage.
Yeah, maybe. That's a good point. You're going to play Eddard this turn. You might play Air next turn and get another big guy, and so you don't want to be stuck on this after that. That makes sense. You are giving CT here a lot of room, though.
I think that's Jimmy in the chat says it's a strange choice. I'm believing JB Stewart is 813 is Jimmy Stewart.
Yeah, I would agree that it's a strange choice. Rob Stark and Eddard Stark in hand. He can play one.
Yeah, it was
Milk and
interesting.
No Surprises discarded with.
Okay. Yeah, I was wondering whether he was gonna Marauders again because you knew half the hand there, and you couldn't hit Eddard. You could only hit Milk. But I guess with Tyrion out there, Milk makes is as a bad
Yeah,
card. Yeah.
Milk is actually good now that Tyrion's on the board, so that was pretty key. And one is a high value target because of No Surprises and I Am No One.
Yeah. Now that Bowles is in play, getting stuff out in the draw phase is really good. Getting that extra trigger.
Absolutely.
All right. So is there um something to just thinking about? The mental chess match here. Lanni has one Varys. Um, he's going first though. We're expecting Eddard to come out. Well, actually, he got either Eddard or Rob would both put power on themselves. I'm
Yeah,
just
he's really slow to get going here. There's no power gain on the board. I don't think that he wins if he doesn't take power. But you're right that Varys is going to be a high value, uh,
he's only
high
running
value
one.
for CT.
Yeah.
Oh, there's only one. Okay, then I probably wouldn't play around it. You need power to win as Stark, and so
Yep.
I think the reason Eddard comes down here instead of Rob is that there's two additional copies of Rob in the deck, and so your Heir to the Iron Throne next turn potentially is more likely to hit Rob. So you want to play Eddard now. Alex not seeing any power gain or Wyman as we um, are in the middle of this fourth round is actually slowed him down significantly. So
Jimmy's asking whether Tyrion was triggered this round. I don't think it was when the Marauders came out.
yeah, Tyrion
There
has
was no.
not been
He would have
triggered
had to
here.
put himself into shadows then, wouldn't he? Or no,
No, Tyrion could put any card. That's
any
why I
card.
said last round
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that the Rose Road is actually a really good target here. You're past the point where the gold matters, and you can bring it out of shadows for 0 to draw a card with Battles. So as long as you don't need the trigger this turn,
Hmm.
And actually, the trigger is much better on Mandon Moore this turn, so you probably won't do that. Um, Mandon Moore is really going to cut down on this board. Intrigue challenge for 4 means that Rob's going to get discards from the hand. And now he doesn't have a good card to play next turn without, you know, top decking into it. Um, Here we have the attrition coming down hard for
Mm-hmm.
CT. Wow.
Yeah, the deck is doing what it's designed to do, huh?
Queen's Assassins are going to cut him down to 2 characters, and this is before military claim. He's going to be down to 1 character at the end of this.
Wow. Trade routes is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, this VD is actually really awkwardly timed.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's hard you know, to see this
Could
kind
have
of
really used the
attrition
claim
coming,
soak now, right?
but yeah, absolutely. You could use a claim soak. You could use the bar in the gates so that none of this comes out. You could play air so that it actually is valuable because next turn he can't play air. There's not going to be a sacrifice target that's small enough for it to matter. He's also not used the old gate at any point here, which would have prevented one of the deaths from Mandon Moore. Um,
Oh, I wonder
that's
if that even occurred to him.
I think at this point your board is getting so small that you really would want to have triggered the old gate so that you didn't die.
All right, can Stark actually defend this? I mean, or does Lanni have yet another trick if he defends with 8?
Well, if we know that there's an underhanded methods in hand. Whether or not it got put
Back
in
into
a
shadows.
shadows, I don't know. But it seems likely. I don't think that this challenge gets made without uh, being able to win it.
All right, that's all 3, right? Pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good turn. That's a good turn for CT.
Mm-hmm. And CT does have marched, right?
He does, yeah. So it means marched into barring the gates, maybe, or you win your guy actually makes more sense since
Does
you need
does
some cards.
does it make sense to you to do a power challenge there?
You mean as opposed to a military challenge?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, he's actually in a really tough spot here. It's actually probably better to have done a power challenge. Um,
How come?
like the shadow deck doesn't care that much about attrition,
Mm-hmm.
and so if you take them down to three characters, that's fine. They're not really, if they have to claim this assassin and then march away the penny,
No big deal.
they don't really
Yeah.
care. The the Stark deck really needs to get power. So yeah, of course, CT won initiative here because uh, Alex has more power than him.
And he
Um,
wants. Why does he want to go first?
because the at this point, he's going to have to discard any cards Alex is going to have to discard any cards that he doesn't play this turn, and he needs more than one character for it to make a difference because military claim is just going to kill the first one.
Hmm.
And so, as CT, you could just do a military challenge and stop any challenges from coming your way.
Yeah, Nighttime Marauders, pretty good in this deck. Like even if you miss here, you know everything, right? And okay, only hits one. Summer's probably a pretty good card here.
Yep, here we go. Nighttime Marauders coming down and do it again. This is another thing that I didn't even actually mention, but that of course is really important because having access to two Nighttime Marauders means that you just get to craft your opponent's hand for them.
Mm-hmm. That's game, isn't it?
Summer's going to come down. It's going to grab a Alisane. But yeah, or actually, Scout, a Baron Scout. Is there more available? Yeah, this looks really bad for Stark. Um,
Well, right. If it's a barrel and scout, does that mean you can possibly have three cards out because you just chain them, kind of thing?
yeah, does he have enough left though? There is one Scout, two Scouts. Yeah, that would chain to three characters.
Yeah.
This is still really hard for it to matter, but
Yeah.
he's gonna have three characters.
And Mandan can't come back in because he was Iron Banked. And he
That's
probably couldn't
correct.
afford him anyways. So. Oh, he could have. Maybe. No. No. So comment from
You got
chat.
to play it out. This is a game that matters.
Pugs over drugs. That's Nick, right?
That's Nick. Yeah,
He's pointing out that if he had actually had played a three coster, gotten Summer out of there, then Wyman's his only play and could have killed him with the military challenge
yeah,
right off the
yeah.
bat.
That's a better play.
Okay, defends with 3. I think he's just preserving the 2 challenges coming back, right?
Makes sense, yeah, but unlikely to matter. I will be right back.
Sure. Yeah, Jimmy's right. What does it cost to bring Robert Strong in, though? Yeah. Alright, we knew this was I Am No One, but did CT? It's nice. Bolton Flare was the correct answer. And now I don't think the scout can stealth around both the Marauders and Tyrion.
All right.
So Stark played I Am No One. It's looking like it's going to actually get off 2 to claim challenges coming back, but CT brought Bolton Flare out of shadows and is going to now be able to block both of these, I believe, and kill a scout
And
in
kill one of
return.
these, yeah.
So pretty big move there. And win dominance. Well, this has been a nice little comeback for CT. It's going to reduce some of the drama from later today. I need to take the phone call again. Hold on.
Yep. Air into Forgotten Plans. CT's just making sure that the barn can't come down and he doesn't pin his Forgotten Plans in case anything crazy happens. But this game should be over. High value card here in Red Keep coming down on turn 6. Passing the turn with full gold up and 4 cards in shadows. Okay. Inktree challenge from Tyrion. No pinch of powder. Military challenge for 9. Making sure it gets one of these guys off the board. Um, these second trade routes, is that right? Trade routes number 2 is plot 7 for CT. Oh my god.
All right, I'm back.
Not a whole lot we didn't expect. Military claim clears off. Bear Island Scout. Entry claim when unopposed. Power claim is going to stealth past Eddard. Um, Eddard's probably going to do a power challenge back at CT. We'll see trade routes and barring the gates next turn.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, and Denmark comes down just to add an insult to injury here. Bolton
Oh,
Flair sneaks away so he doesn't have to kill himself.
yeah.
Or actually, he doesn't have to kill Penny.
Mm-hmm.
Red Keep cancels the old gate. CT has everything covered here.
Yeah. Well, even without barring, this is just you just grind it out now, right?
Yeah. His board's too good to get past anything. That CT just has the lock here. It doesn't matter what 2 cards Alex draws. There's no way he can get past this board. And CT is going to make his challenges out well.
All right, for those of you in the chat, um, we're gonna also be covering the 3:30 game, which is Colt. We expect that to go pretty quickly, and then at 4 o'clock Pacific, we'll do Chris Vack versus Stupe. I don't know, but I
If
will be. What's that?
I was just gonna say, if Colt actually doesn't lose turn 1 or turn 2, that game could take longer since Colt will combo off.
Right.
But well, but yeah, unlikely that happens.
Just letting you know, we will be covering Team USA for the rest of the day, but perhaps with less drama if things continue as they're continuing.
Yeah, I mean we've locked it here. I already took my
Yes,
victory lap.
that is correct,
Um,
Nick. 40 minutes for those in the central time zone.
this Night of Fireworks come down is just a guarantee. It came out last turn since Brian the Gates was definitely gonna be played.
And there's the concede. All right. 5-2 USA. Team USA will advance. So,
Very good games against Andorra.
yeah,
We had
this was
some
2-2.
games go our way. Yeah, this was 2-2 at one point. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm
Uh,
looking, it's looking like Poland, Germany are locked up at 3-3 if we can believe the score sheet, which is sometimes runs a little late. But, so not clear yet who Team USA's next match will be.
Yeah, Germany, Poland is tied at 3-3 as far as the score sheet goes. I think that Germany's favored in all three of the games that are left. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Hmm.
looking at them, that's what I see.
Well, let me know
And
if you have
so,
to, if you have to get back to work. Do you? But if you do have a second, it, Lanni Kingdom has done great in this tournament, right? Like when you
yeah,
see,
yeah.
I mean, it's been the deck that Lanni's played, and it felt like Lanni has the highest win rate of any faction. But it's it's Lanni Kingdom. Is
Mm-hmm.
is this a true? This is a true tier one deck that you would expect to see a lot of going into worlds or whatever in the spring.
Absolutely. Uh, Lanny Shadows has like just an overall really high power level, styles, speeds, its economy, better than any other Shadows deck could hope for. But the other thing that actually might be a little bit underrated that Lanny Shadows has going for it is that we're playing in an open list format, and so you know exactly the counters that your opponents are playing. Um, and so you're not going to get blown out by exposed duplicity. You're not going to get blown out by barring the gates, without
But that's going to be
misplaying or
different for
missing
worlds.
stuff.
Like actual card tournaments is that's not how it's going to work, right?
Yeah, of course, that's fair, and that's why you won't see as many Lannister. Of course, people aren't forced to play Lannister at Worlds either. Um, but I do think that the power level is really high in Lannister, even in Lannister Shadows, even outside of open list format.
Hmm. So like right now, it seems like we're seeing some like you were playing Targ Sea of Blood. Seems real strong, and it seems like Night's Watch is still really good with a couple of cards that should probably be on restricted lists. So, uh, like, are those the big decks we're thinking of? Kind of.
It's pretty difficult to predict. I mean, we are not a month into the new box.
Hmm.
Maybe actually exactly a month, but for a lot of the field, everybody was testing for Starlink. So not quite a month into the box. I think things are still getting settled. I am. I'm the last one to declare a meta solved, and
No,
so
no, no. That's not what I'm. Yeah, I'm not saying that. It seems like we actually have. Well, let me put it this way. It seems like there are some clear tier ones. Um, like there's times when you look at Night's Watch and like that can be just a. It feels broken how they just steal all your stuff.
mhm.
You know, and I've seen like they can kind of handle Targ Sea of Blood too. So I'm just. Um, but okay, so let me just put it this way. No, of course things haven't been solved. Other than these three decks, what are the other things that are kind of like on your radar of potential decks that you'd want to take into a tournament in the next month?
You said Tark Sea, Lane Shadows, and what was the other one? A
Um,
Night's Watch deck.
I don't think
Valerian
Night's
Steel.
Watch is completely figured out. Like I've seen, I've been watching Thomas play, and I think he's
Mm-hmm.
jumping back and forth between just doing Valerian Steel and doing an HRD like White Tree because
Mm-hmm.
Clytus has come in and made
Yeah, Choke.
yeah
Super strong
choke a
again.
thing,
Yeah.
but like they're already stealing so many of your characters anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So and
Yeah, there's a list. I think you'd be remiss to ignore Barra cohort. That list is incredibly strong. We see Andres keeps tearing everybody up
hmm
with it.
hmm
It's a really hard deck to pilot, which might be why it doesn't get as much play as it should. Um, but that's an incredibly strong deck. There's a bunch of different target lists that haven't been explored yet. There's Burn with Incinerate is a really strong event. Um, it's really hard to predict all these things, but Incinerate strong. Target Burn should see more play than it is, but everybody's playing with the new stuff,
no, it's
which
not.
makes
It's not
sense.
an original thought on my point. It does seem like or other people have said, and it seems like it's really true. Is like the meta is actually in a fantastic place as the game is coming to a close.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think we
yeah.
still have the
That's
potential for some really like weird stuff to come out of nowhere now with all these cards coming into the game. I know like Neil Kimball had a Lanny Conclave that's
mm-hmm.
is very interesting that I'm interested to see. So And then I think like this is a fun time. This is the last chance for all of the alchemist deck builders in the community to put together something that's a real secret sauce surprise to bring out at the end here. So um, it's actually a really great time for the game.
Yeah, agreed. It's a ton of blast to play in. It's a ton of blast to think about as we're building all these World Cup lists and figuring out matchups and also going forward. We're all thinking about worlds. We've got um, plans for a test house before worlds, which is going to be exciting. Um,
The test house.
a test house, yeah,
Oh, sounds cool. All right. Well, thanks for joining me on your late lunch hour here,
yeah.
Alejandro.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And I will be back in 30 minutes with Colts match. So thanks everybody for stopping in on the stream.